Hi Year 10, it's Miss Rasmussen here. This is your third lesson, the digestive system. So if you're on core, it's your only lesson for week 2. If you're on triple, it's your second lesson. So just going to recap our previous work, which is organisation. So what I'd like you to do is put these in size order from smallest to largest, and then add at least one example of each. So pause the video, pop them in order, put your examples down, and then come back and check your answers. So in terms of the size order, starting with the smallest, we've got organelles. We've then got cell, tissue, organ, organ system, and then organism. I've put down a couple of examples from each one. The organelles, these were part of your facts, so you should definitely have at least one of these. Same for the leaf palisade in the tissues. Cell, you can have any type of cell. I've put a nerve cell down, but you could have egg cell, sperm cell, you could have palisade cells, loads of different cells. Organs, again, some of these examples are the ones from your fact book, heart, liver, leaf or root, so you should have those. And then organ system, any organ system, digestive system, circulatory system, nervous system, any of those is absolutely fine. And then finally the organism, which is the whole living thing, a human, a plant, a dog, any full organism that you can think of. So what we're looking at today is the digestive system. And what we need to know from the digestive system is what the roles of the main organs in the digestive system are. So we need to know about the mouth, which chops the food into smaller pieces and mixes it with saliva, the esophagus, the stomach, the liver, the gallbladder, the pancreas, small intestine and large intestine. And what you need to know is what each of these do, and in an exam they will often ask you which bit on this diagram is where bile is made. So make sure that you can link them to a diagram as well. So overall our digestive system looks something like this. It goes start up here at the mouth, and it goes right down to where the waste food is excreted from the anus. What I would like you guys to do first of all is to pause the video and get your own copy of a digestive system and get it labelled as we go through. I'll put a blank copy for you to use in Teams, and there is also a copy of the PowerPoint that we're going to go through with some extra information, so feel free to open that up and use that when we're doing this. So once you've got your labelled digestive system, what I would like you to then do is annotate it with the key roles. So we're going to go through each of them, make sure you know what the organ is and what the role is. So digestion starts off in the mouth, which is up here. What we've got in the mouth is we've got teeth, and what the teeth will do is chop the food into smaller pieces, and then just underneath the tongue we have got salivary glands, and they release saliva. The saliva does two things. It will release enzymes called amylase. We'll look at those next week. They break the carbohydrates down into sugar, and it also makes the food sort of wetter, more slippery, so it's easier to swallow. So our mouth, what you need to know for your fact book, is chops food into smaller pieces and mixes it with saliva. So we've broken it down into smaller pieces. It's then going to pass down this tube here. This tube here is the esophagus or the gullet. You will get marks for either. And what this is a muscular tube that pushes food down into the stomach. It does this by something called peristalsis, so it's literally squeezing, pushing it down a little bit, squeezing on the next bit, pushing it down. A little bit like pushing a tennis ball down a sock, so you're just squeezing on top of the food. So that's the esophagus or the gullet. The food will then pass down and it will come into this muscular bag here, which is the stomach. And what the stomach does is we'll add hydrochloric acid, and it'll also add some other enzymes, and it churns the food. So it's physically churning that food, breaking it down into smaller and smaller bits, mixing it with hydrochloric acid, and then adding an enzyme called protease, which breaks proteins down. So we'll follow the food down and then we'll come back to these other bits. So it then passes from the stomach once it's all broken down. There's this tiny bit here, which is where the stomach and the small intestine attach, and it's called the duodenum. You don't need to know that for your GCSEs, but what you do need to know is the stomach and then the small intestine. The small intestine is the narrow one, so it's much longer, but it is much thinner. So the small intestine is the narrow one. And what happens in the small intestine is all of the nutrients, glucose, amino acids, glycerol, fatty acids, all the things that we need from digestion will be absorbed into the bloodstream. Inside this are things called villi and microvilli, and these are finger-like projections which make up the inside of the wall. And what that does is increases the surface area. So if you think back to our work on transport, we said that having a large surface area will increase the rate of diffusion. That's why you've got these villi and microvilli. They increase the surface area. The small intestine is also really long. If you were to take an adult small intestine and lay it out, it would be about 6 meters. So as it passes all the way through, then it's absorbing all of the nutrients into the bloodstream. From there, it will go into the large intestine. So the large intestine is shorter, but it's wider, which is why we call it the large intestine. And what happens here is the water is absorbed into the bloodstream. So the small intestine has absorbed all of the nutrients. So what we are left with is water and undigested food. So that passes through this large intestine, goes all the way around, and all of the water is absorbed. By the end, all that you are left with is undigested food or feces, and that's stored in the rectum, and then when you go to the toilet it will come out through the anus. So those are the organs that the food passes through. Other ones that we need to be aware of, we've got the liver. So this is a really large organ here. Now in terms of digestion, what we need to know about the liver is that it makes bile. Bile is a substance which is alkali, and it will neutralise the stomach acid, and it also emulsifies fats. And what that means is it breaks them down into smaller pieces. So it again increases that surface area and makes the digestion that little bit easier. So that's our liver. We've then got our gallbladder, and that's this little sort of green thing. It sits on, just in front of the liver. And what this does is it stores bile. So the liver will make it, and then it's stored in this gallbladder until we need to use it. And then it will pass into that duodenum, that little bit of tube between the stomach and the small intestine. The other one we need to know about is the pancreas, and this is this green thing here. So in this diagram, it is sat behind the stomach, but it sort of sits in it. It looks a little bit like a leaf or a feather, and you can see here that's its shape. So it's sitting behind the stomach. And what the pancreas does is it makes digestive enzymes. I mentioned enzymes during this video. Next week we will look in more detail at the enzymes and what they do. But enzymes are absolutely vital in digestion, and the pancreas will make all of these enzymes. It's also involved in some other hormones that it makes. So for example, insulin is made in the pancreas, which controls the blood sugar. So really, really important job that the pancreas has got. So this is your basic digestive system. Make sure that you can label all of the parts of the digestive system. So we've got the mouth, the esophagus or the gullet, stomach, pancreas, small intestine, large intestine, liver, and then the gallbladder. So make sure you've got your diagram and it's labelled. As I say, there is a diagram in the Teams folder for you, and there is this PowerPoint if you would like to click through and get some more notes. So the facts that we would like you to learn from this lesson, the digestive system, are as follows, and it is the role of the major organs. So the mouth chops food into smaller pieces and mixes it with saliva. The esophagus or the gullet, again you can choose either, is a muscular tube that pushes food to the stomach. The stomach churns the food and mixes it with hydrochloric acid. The liver makes bile. Gallbladder stores bile. Pancreas makes digestive enzymes. Small intestine absorbs nutrients into the bloodstream. And the large intestine absorbs water into the bloodstream. Any problems, please email any of your biology teachers and we will get back to you. Please learn these facts. There will be a mini review in next week's lesson, which is enzymes. So take care, and I will see you guys next week.